Well, welcome. Um, and what we'll talk about is basically the direction for Java in HDF5 or at the HDF Group as well, I guess. Um, Currently, um, up until version 2, the way for Java to access the HDF5 library was through our H5 class, which interfaced with a JNI implementation of that called the library functions. And JNI has been around a long time. It's a way to access native libraries. Version 2 still has JNI as the default interface for Java. But what we did two things for this version 2 release. We added Maven build for Java, which, being new and nobody in the company really has extensive experience with it, it does have a few flaws. It is a way going forward that you can build the Java. Hopefully it'll improve. We'll get it out there on Maven Central. We'll get it working the way people want it to work. That was the one thing. The other thing was we gave a preview of a new way of accessing the HDF5 native library, and that is with the Java FFM. Got a couple. Let's talk about what FFM is. Let's see. I've got a couple things here. If I can find the right window. Let's see. Here we are. And okay. I believe I'm sharing.
Yep.
Okay, good. This is the Java has a way of putting out proposals and they're called JEP. The foreign function and memory API. That is what FFM is. This talks about what it was doing, how it works, things like that, and it has some ideas. Feel free to go out there and look if you want to explore more. But it started in JDK 19, and they've enhanced it and worked it, and finally, with release 22, so JDK 22, they pretty much made it a part of the Java environment. And with Java 25, which just came out this fall, they basically have locked down what they're doing with FFM. And that is what our release 2.0 HDF5 Java interface is working with. FFM is the Java 25 release. It's preview simply because Java 25 just came out, but it is a long-term support version of Java. So going forward, it will be there. We basically did two things with it in as concerning the HDF5 library. One, we made a version of the H5 class, sort of a compatibility class, if you want, so that you can still have pretty much 99% of the same functionality that you have currently with JNI. But we also have a pure FFM Java library. Couple more things. There's a couple more Java documentation things let's look at. So if you go to the JDK 25 documentation, and you go to core libraries, there is a foreign function and memory API talking specifically about that. There's also, you can find a lot of information out there on FFM. One of these is from Inside Java, talks about how FFM sort of, it's about safety. JNI was not very safe, and you could crash quite a bit easily. Could easily crash the JVM. FFM does a little bit better job. You can still crash it, but it does provide some functions and access protocols to help with that. That's all the information on FFM that I was going to present. So there's one other thing that we did, and because of Java 25, we were able to generate the Java FFM interface files during the build. So there's a tool out there called Java Extract, JExtract, that we run during the build to create the interface files. The positive of that is that we will get platform-specific changes that have to be in there and work with the HDF5 library. That's one of the advantages. The second advantage is it will always stay up to date. So with JNI, you always need to have a Java programmer that knew C, could debug through the interface into the library to create a library, just a native library that interfaced with the HDF5 library. With FFM, that kind of goes away. You're still interfacing with the HDF5 native library, but the jar file it is the one that interfaces directly with the HDF5 native library, and no longer does the jar file interface with a JNI native library that interfaces. So we've eliminated, one of the libraries. So that's positive. Now, by default, and our binaries on GitHub are all defaulted to JNI. You have to have Java 25 and JExtract in order to create the FFM jar file, the library. So hopefully we're moving towards FFM. There's still some work to be done. And the idea is that HDF View eventually would interface directly with the FFM library from HDF5 and possibly HDF4. And that would improve hopefully the speed of HDF View and allow you to access more of the functionality that may not have been available from JNI. That is the basics. I don't know what anybody else wants to know, but that is basically what it is. Hopefully, depending on resources and timing, maybe when HDF5 version 3 is out, FFM will be the default version of Java. That's all I got.
Good job. Thank you, Alan. Anyone have questions, or staff member have any additions or comments?
So what are we currently on Maven Central, Alan, or?
We do have, I believe, we now have access to Maven Central, and that if we were to run the to produce a Maven file, upload, I believe it would go to Maven Central. It has not. I have not tested that personally yet, but we already have feedback that our Maven upload is deficient. They want the native libraries inside the Maven upload. So we got some more work to do on that.
Okay. And then I'll put the addresses from the pages you've shared into the video description so people can look at those later if they want.
Excellent. Oh, Alan, I just had one question. In any of the work that you did on this, did you get any sense from any benchmarks that you were able to run as to what the speed up might be when you use FFM with a Java program?
No, I did not do any timing tests per se. The only thing I can tell you is that I did notice that running the Java test suite did finish faster than with JNI. But I don't have any hard numbers on anything right there. There is one other thing. I did talk about the H5 compatibility class to try and, buffer a little bit of, if you want to go to FFM, you could use that class and still use your existing Java programs. There is one unfortunate thing that I was not able to get around, and that was with the iterators. The iterators require the callback function to know FFM, know that it's FFM, and I could not paper over that requirement. I couldn't find a way to transparent. I did try, but it just did not work. If you were doing iterators and callbacks, you would have to write a FFM callback function. But everything else did pretty well. Obviously, going through that H5 class, still be a little slower, but it saves you some of the FFM programming you don't have to worry about, and it was a lot easier to get the calls through, and you didn't have to worry about memory segments because it took care of it inside the H5 class. Now, we have actually two test folders for FFM, one which uses the H5 class and mimics the JNI test directory, and the second was a straight FFM. So there's a way you could compare FFM versus the H5 class, and but the JNI stayed the same.
Okay, thank you. And I'm completely unfamiliar with the Java world at this point, but is there any difference in memory footprint between a JNI program and something that's done with FFM? Are they roughly equivalent and no difference, or does FFM introduce a little bit bigger stuff?
I believe one of the main advantages, and go out and look at the JEP if you're interested. Look at the FFM documentation out there. It talks more about it. But one of the things it does do, I think, but not in all cases, and it depends on what you're trying to do, but it could eliminate a memory copy for data. You may be able to bypass, so it gets a little speed that way because you can access native memory directly instead of having to copy it and then access it. you could just access it directly. That is one of the things that it did.
Okay.
And so that is, that could be a significant speed up.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and until really this summer, I did not keep up with the Java world either to that point. And but then, with the Java 1 presentation from last year, I went back, watched some of those, and found out that Java world's moving pretty fast in the last couple of years. They're coming out with regular updates, adding things and improving things. So it's worthwhile looking if you enjoy Java.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Well, Alan, thank you so much for speaking today, and it's kind of your farewell to us as you retire at the end of the year. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah. So now you have documentation on the last thing I did, huh?
Yep, you're preserved. Your knowledge is preserved forever here. And in the dark alleyways of HDF2 and HDF5.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.